Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today, I wanted to get on and talk about dating and sex, and I wanted to kind of cover it from both the single person out there dating and, navigating the dating world and dating your spouse. And then maybe we'll even talk, so beyond that, though, we'll talk about dating yourself or on top, like as an umbrella to all of it, right? Because I think we need to uncouple sex from just being about partner sex, right? I really think that that's important because I think it comes into play in both scenarios in different ways. And here's what I mean. So when you're dating and you're trying to get to know someone, it seems obvious that one of the ways that we would want to get to know someone is physically, right? However, I hear so many people, women especially, but people in general, just saying, how do I know that this person really wants to be in a relationship with me and build a relationship with me if I think that they're only in it for the sex, right? Like, how do I know? And you can't 100% know, right? Because, some people will string you along and play the game and sort of say all the right things in order to get what they want. And, as long as everyone's sort of happy and consenting and whatnot, then it's all good. And if you could separate your feelings from your physical interactions with people, it would be so much easier, right? But for most of us, I think that when we engage in physical intimacy with other people, it's with the intention of creating a deeper kind of intimacy, right? So that even if this person isn't necessarily a long-term partner, that you're still wanting to build some connection in order for the whole experience to be better, right? So if you're out dating and you're wondering, is this person only with me because of the sex? My answer to that, and don't jump down my throat, but my answer to that is like, well, don't have sex with them so early, right? And I know that sounds antiquated and old and, like, oh, she's just a 50-year-old old woman who, doesn't know what she's talking about. Just listen to me for a sec. Imagine that I'm your older aunt if you're younger, or I'm your sister, and I'm wanting to give you some advice. This is the advice. It's not that hard. I think most of you know that. This is the answer anyways. Slow things down. If someone is only interested in you for sex, they will not stick around for very long. And that's how you weed out those people. That's just it. Like, it's not more complicated than that. Unless you're dealing with a true narcissist, then most likely, if they are just looking for a hookup and that's not what you're into, then you can weed them out really quickly by setting that boundary. I'm not ready for physical intimacy right now. Let's get to know each other. I want to know what your morals and values are like before I jump into bed with you. I don't think that's unreasonable, and I don't think that's old-fashioned. I think that's a way to protect yourself, protect your heart, and to really build lasting relationships. So, then people will say, well, how do you make sure it doesn't get, the relationship doesn't get friend zoned and whatnot? The reality is that all good relationships that last for a long time, there's that foundation of friendship. The ones that are really, truly thriving and strong and have great communication, those people have that foundation of friendship to go on, to build on, right? So without that, you can't build a relationship just on sexual energy. It's important, but it can't be the foundation for your relationship. So how do we make sure that that doesn't happen? We slow it down. Get to know each other. Everyone's in this fast economy, fast everything. Like, I've got to have my food quickly. I've got to have my sex quickly. Like, everything's got to be fast. And I'm just saying, the beauty in slowing it down is that you get to know each other, You build that comfort level and that safety and connection. And you can still be intimate in a lot of ways and build that sexual tension and build the intimacy at the same time while getting to know each other and going slow. You just have to do it mindfully, right? And you have to find someone who's willing to do that with you. But again, I think you weed out the people that aren't interested in that by just being like, no, I don't do that this early in a relationship. Yeah, no, I'm not interested in just a one night stand or, friends with benefits, or, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong with those things. I'm just saying, don't come to me and say, I'm looking for a serious relationship. And then when we talk about some of your encounters or most of your encounters, a lot of them are friends with benefits or, like 1 or 2 nights or whatever. Like if you accept that behavior in your relationships, then that's the kind of relationships you're going to have and attract. And so that's the thing though, then people will say to me, but I don't want to be alone. And that's the crux of it right there, isn't it? So we're so afraid of being alone because we think that that's going to mean that we're lonely. And, I've talked about this before. You can go and check. There's one of my Facebook Lives. I put it on YouTube about alone versus loneliness. And there's a big difference, right? And so that's where I kind of tie in the dating yourself thing. Date yourself. If you find yourself in between relationships, take that time to date yourself. What is the purpose of dating? The purpose of dating is to get to know someone better, to get to know their values, their morals, their beliefs, their dreams, their aspirations. And yet most of the time, most people don't know those things about themselves. And I mean, truly know them, not just some of the ones that you were raised on, because look, I was raised in a pretty morally strong household, and I was taught certain beliefs around how we treat people and whatnot. Those were sort of ingrained in my childhood from my parents. However, there have been lots of things that I've discovered that I believe in and that I hold morally true for myself as an adult that don't necessarily correspond to my childhood upbringing, right? So I've done that search and discovery of myself to this extent, right? So, I mean, it's always an ongoing situation of getting to know yourself more and better and fuller. But to take that time to do that introspective work and to really question some of your own beliefs and value systems and whatnot during that time, so that when you do meet people, you're not just trying to get to know them, you're trying to let them really know you. And you can actually share those things about yourself with them, right? So that you're just your authentic self showing up. And that's going to attract other people who have done that work. Is it going to mean that you're going to find them instantly? No, it's going to take some work. I don't think that, it's easy, and I'm not suggesting that it is. However, what's easier? So pick your easy. Your easy could be, I could get on a dating site and meet someone tomorrow, right? And maybe there's things about them that, right off the hop, I'm kind of going, I don't know, but, what the heck? I'll give it a try. And then you go out on a date with this person, and maybe it's okay, and it's all right. You're like, well, maybe I'll go out on a second date with them. And so you get 2 and 3 dates in, and then there's this expectation of now we're going to sleep with each other. And you're just kind of like, well, but then you feel this sense that, maybe I'm just not giving this person a fair shake. Maybe, it takes time to build a relationship. Yes, it does. But that doesn't mean you need to sleep with them. Yes, sexual compatibility is important. However, if you feel a sexual chemistry to someone, that tells you that you want to get to know them better. Not, I feel a sexual chemistry with them, ergo, that means we're going to have great sex and a great relationship. That doesn't necessarily work out that way, right? So, to sort of bring it around to, back to, date yourself, what are the ways that you want to feel loved and shown love? If you don't know those things, how can you share that information with someone else, right? And so then you see a lot of couples now, I'm going to kind of move into now, you're in a couple, you're in a relationship. You've, moved past those first few stages of whatever building, and you've jumped into a relationship with them, and now you're trying to get to know them. And maybe some things come up that are questionable, and you're like, So then what happens is a few things can happen at once. Maybe there was this really great honeymoon stage where the intimacy was fantastic, and there was that newness, and all of those feel-good hormones were just flowing, and everything was, ticking along. And then you start to settle in. And here's where a couple things can happen. You settle into your baseline, which is, generally people have a baseline of how often they, are up for and wanting and needing intimacy. And at the same time, maybe you're discovering some things about their personality that maybe you didn't know before, and you're starting to kind of and so subconsciously there could be a part of you that's just getting a little bit turned off, right? A little bit like, that's kind of an off-putting thing about them. And some things, you'll learn to kind of overlook. Other things can really start to niggle away at things. So what I mean is, when you get to know someone's character better, either you're going to fall more in love with them and become more attracted to them, ergo, you're going to have, hopefully a better intimate relationship, or you're going to discover things about them that maybe turn you off, and that maybe you are thinking that, you're questioning their character, or you don't necessarily admire them. And that can be a real turnoff, right? So the problem is that we get so far in and so invested at that point that we start talking ourselves into letting certain things slide. And now I'm not talking about, leaving the tube off the toothpaste or socks on the floor kind of scenario. I'm talking about like more character and moral stuff. We start to let those things slide. And then over time, resentments build up, and our idea of them has been shown to be, not true, right? They didn't live up to our expectations or our idea of them. So it's really hard to build some sexual connection there. And a lot of times in relationships, long-term relationships, people just stop dating each other. They stop dating themselves. They stop dating each other. There's just no real efforting, right? And so, people look at different relationships and think, oh, I should be doing that, or I should be doing that, or whatever. And what I say to people is like, if you enjoy going out for dinners with your partner and that's your idea of a date, then that's what you should do. But if your idea of a date is to go for a walk through the park, or to, go kayaking together, or, whatever, right? Like, everyone's got different ideas of dating. You need to be able to be clear about those things, right? You need to know yourself well enough to go, I really like when we do this, this, and this. And that needs to be something that you know going into a relationship, ideally, but often we don't know those things. And if you've been in a long-term relationship and you were really young when you got in the relationship, then there's a lot of things you don't know about yourself in relation to you being a separate human being, right? So there can be a lot of discovery in that kind of work. So if you're in a relationship and things have gotten stale, but there was that sort of initial sexual connection and chemistry, and you're able to fix the emotional and mental piece of the relationship, you can totally get back to that sexual connection. But if the sexual connection was only sort of a part of that newness and the honeymoon stage, and you were maybe not being authentic and they weren't being authentic, and you weren't really sharing the things that turn you on and excite you, then it can be harder at that point to start to build from there. But it's possible, right? So what I invite you to do, whether you're single or whether you're in a relationship, is take some time to date yourself, especially if you're single. Take this opportunity, and I mean really truly get to know yourself and enjoy being around yourself, right? Because if you can't date yourself and have fun with yourself, then, you know, how much fun are you with other people, right? So that's just my suggestion. And then if you're in a long-term relationship, date yourself. Get to know yourself, especially if you'd never had that opportunity before. I was 19 when I met Donnie. I had dated a few guys, but like I hadn't really had an opportunity to do a lot of self-discovery and to do any of that kind of work on myself. So it took me a little bit longer to get there and just sort of define myself as a separate being, and what that means for me on all levels, not just sexually, but mentally, emotionally, all of it, right? So doing that self-discovery, whether you're 19 or 30 or 50, it doesn't matter where you are and what stage in life you are, as long as you're willing to embark on that journey. And there's all kinds of supports for that. Whatever you're looking for, there's tons of supports out there. It's just a matter of finding which ones are the right ones for you. So that's why I offer a free consultation call. It's a 45-minute call. It's done usually over Zoom or Messenger. We keep the camera off. It's very, very casual, but just to kind of get a sense of, you know, what resources are you actually needing in this stage of your journey? What would actually propel you forward, and not just forward, but inward towards yourself and getting to know and love yourself the most, right? So there's certain services that I offer that can help you there, but then there's other services that you might be needing that are outside of the realm of my practice, and I can maybe help direct you towards some resources. And yeah, we can just have a chat about what's going on for you and how to get you feeling confident and sexy and vibrant and really in touch with your sensuality and your sexuality and loving your body and just feeling that deep connection and love for yourself, and then how to sort of have that go outward into your relationships. That's what I can help you with. So feel free to reach out. Let's chat. Thanks. Namaste.